Bye week in Tuscaloosa. Time to check out the Tide and what we've seen thus far with Joe Hunk from 740 The Fallout there in Montgomery, Alabama. How's it going today, Joe?
It is going amazing, man. And yeah, Alabama gets a bye week. So obviously, in all the things that are happening in Tuscaloosa, it's been very difficult for them the past few weeks. I mean, they have a lot of things that when you look around the university and you start reevaluating the athletic program, it's the worst thing in the world. And I know that it's something that obviously all college football fans think about is when you start coming up with the schedule for the next week. And somehow the network with the number one selection selects the number one team in the conference to play in the primetime slot. It's a hard life. It's a very hard life in Tuscaloosa, and that's what we have to deal with day in, day out from here is the tough things. Like, why do we have to have another 2:30 kick? Why can we not be a little bit worse and kick at 6 or 8 o'clock?
Yeah, I don't know what we need to do to possibly help those poor folks down there that have the 28-point leads in the first quarter, week after week after week after week. There was some adversity last week. Let's be honest. 10-7 Ole Miss at one point in that game. I think people were they had there was a bit of a trial there for them to persevere through for a while. So from the outside, a lot of people haven't watched Alabama play much because they haven't played that game that would appear to be much of a challenge. South Carolina, they blow them out fairly quickly, on and on and on. Duke in the opener was a big venue matchup in Atlanta, but they took care of business 42-3. And so those games are coming. We thought Texas A&M in 2 weeks was going to be maybe their game of the year, but Texas A&M doesn't look prepared for this team. So from the outside, again, I haven't seen a whole lot of Alabama football. This looks like the typical MO. The Tua's going off, best wide receiver core in the country, on and on, dominant defense, although they got ripped up a little bit by Ole Miss, but they did that last year against some lesser teams like Arkansas because it didn't matter. And I kept telling people, I don't think this is the Alabama defense that we're going to see when it counts. And sure enough, LSU and Mississippi State were shutouts. Your thoughts about the way Alabama's played thus far and maybe some differences between this team and last year and previous seasons?
Well, it's kind of a Jekyll and Hyde. And with Jekyll and Hyde, it's in the past, the defense was the strength. And you're thinking, okay, well, it's okay if you're running a pro-style offense, if you have a quote-unquote game manager at your quarterback, you have a hard runner and you have one or two good wide receivers. We've got a defense that's only going to give up 10 to 15 points per game. They're going to be one of the best in the country, and we don't have to worry about it. You go to 2019, now you have a quarterback that is a gunslinger. You have a guy that is arguably he's throwing up more touchdown passes in one game than some players have this entire football season. I mean, he had 7 touchdowns. Tua did on Saturday. Bo Nix has 7 touchdown passes, period, in the entire season. So you see that type of offense. You see these dynamic wide receivers where honestly, you can just pick one, whether it is Henry Ruggs, whether it is Jerry Jeudy, whether it is Jalen Waddle, or, Devontae Smith, who had 5 touchdowns on Saturday. It doesn't matter which one of these guys it is. They have this explosive offense. There is a question mark on the defense right now, and there is a question mark when it comes to run stoppage. And unfortunately, it's something that we've talked about for the past 3 or 4 weeks, and it is that linebacker core because of the injuries that we saw in fall camp to start this off. It wasn't supposed to be Shane Lee or Christian Harris being your starting linebackers, but they're there now. And you are starting to see some mistakes made. Now, is that going to be the case when you do get to LSU week, which is the one that's circled for everybody in the country is Alabama versus LSU? Is it going to be like that when you get to the Iron Bowl and you go into Jordan-Hare Stadium? It may not be. But right now, this team does have a problem in stopping the run. And in the future, that could be a big thing that could lead to, if this offense somehow struggles, if they go up against a pass defense, I don't know, they play like a school that talks about being the one that is known for defensive backs that can stop wide receivers. That could be an issue, and that could be something that we're seeing in the future. This is not the same Alabama team. Offensively, it's like playing Madden. Defensively, it's like playing Madden, because you can't stop the run sometimes whenever you're playing that game. You can't stop certain offenses. And that's where Alabama is having a little bit of a struggle so far earlier in the season.
Nick Saban takes pride in his defense. It's got to be driving him nuts, giving up 31 to Ole Miss and seeing all those yards get piled up against lesser teams. Mark Rogers TV, the voice of college football. This is what we do, break down college football for you, the smart fan, each and every day. And I tell people this all the time, Joe, if you're not a smart fan, don't stay right where you are. We'll educate you. Don't worry. We'll get you all set for the games each and every week. We got tons of week 6 previews, my predictions down in the description section below. Just grab the link next to Voice of College Football Community. So has anything changed your mind about the SEC Western Division race based on where we were a month to 5 weeks ago versus right now?
Honestly, right now, I would say LSU is probably the scariest team in the country to me. And it is because it's what we've all seen, and it's what we've all wanted. And it is that idea of, if Thor just gets his hammer, if he can just get his hammer, then it doesn't matter how big Thor is or how little Thor is. As long as he gets his hammer, we're good. And we kept waiting the whole time of, if LSU ever starts running an offense that's from this century, this team is going to be unstoppable. And then finally, Ed Ogeron, he held out that hand and boom, he got his hammer. And that is what we're looking at now. And this offense is scary. It's not a team that, watch on Saturdays, watch how the Jacksonville Jaguars will play. Leonard Fournette is still doing the exact same things in the NFL that he was doing at LSU, because that's what he's good at. He runs straight forward, he knocks you over, and he gets 4 to 5 yards on a run, and he'll do it all over again. This LSU team is not built that way. This LSU team and Joe Burrow is throwing it all over the field. And again, just like, I've said that I've had people calling me and texting me saying, hey, Auburn's got my attention. Yeah, LSU's got their attention as well. And that's for good reason, because this LSU team is scary, and they're very fun to watch right now.
Yeah, I was having that same thought about Leonard Fournette, watching some of the highlights on Sunday. I was like, oh, same guy that he was at LSU, just throwing guys off of his back and, get out of my way.
It's not a bad thing. It's just the fact of, he's one-dimensional. There was a period of time where Derrick Henry at Alabama was one-dimensional. He was one cut, and after that, he wasn't doing anything else. The thing that changed for Derrick Henry is when he went into his last season at Alabama, he became more than a one-cut guy. And I'm a huge wrestling fan, and they always talk about John Cena and the 5 moves of doom. He only does 5 moves in the ring. That man, when he threw in that 6th move, whoa, hold on, he's got himself a 6th move. That's the same way with Derrick Henry. Whoa, he does more than just a quick juke. Hold up, this guy's deadly, and he wins the Heisman Trophy that year.
Joe Hunk on the line from 7:40 a.m. His show is The Fallout. Joe, let the people know where they can find you.
You can follow me on Twitter at Joe Hunk. You can follow our Twitter page at The Fallout 740 as well. We're always on there. And of course, every single Tuesday and Thursday, we even have the 740 Game Room, which we just happen to be in our Madden tournament as we speak right now, playing in that one. We've actually got the Bears and Green Bay Packers that we're playing. It's really fun like that. And we do all of that on our social media feeds.
Good stuff. Man, Joe, I appreciate you stopping by. It's always a fun discussion.
Absolutely, man. Anytime.